When Google Earth first made its way into the mainstream in the mid-2000s, many people simply thought of it as a curiosity, something to explore around on when you were bored, or to look up random pictures of your house to see if the company had caught anything interesting while mapping the neighborhood. However, it quickly became clear that the program had many promising applications, with governments and businesses soon taking advantage of the ever-increasing sophistication of Google's mapping technology. Perhaps one of the most interesting uses of the program, however, has been in helping to solve crimes. Several stories have emerged over the years about how law enforcement, journalists, and everyday people have used Google Earth to crack various cases, sometimes completely by accident. Today, we wanted to take a look at a few examples of such cases, focusing on a range of stories where Google Earth played an integral role in solving a crime. Though these cases definitely range in their severity, we feel they're interesting nonetheless, as many of them likely wouldn't have been solved at all if it weren't for the help of Google's technology. Before we get to our list, don't forget to subscribe to Crime Zone for more true crime content like this, making sure to hit the notification bell to stay up to date with our latest videos. With that out of the way, here is our list of 8 crimes solved with the help of Google Earth. In September of 2008, a 14-year-old boy was mugged by 2 men while riding his bike in the Dutch municipality of Groningen. The thieves took his bike, his cell phone, and 156 euros in cash before running off. Though the boy immediately reported the incident to police, there wasn't much they could do, as petty crimes like this often go unsolved. Without any leads, it seemed that the boy was out of luck, until 6 months later when he stumbled across a photo of himself on Google Earth. Miraculously, the image had captured the moment right before the crime took place, showing the boy riding his bike with the 2 unknown men advancing towards him. The police were able to obtain the original photo from Google with the unblurred faces of the men, and discovered that they were easy to identify because they already had criminal records. They were subsequently charged and ended up serving jail time. When Deputy Gregory Barnes found an 18-foot boat illegally dumped in an undeveloped subdivision near Pensacola, Florida, he decided he wasn't going to let the person responsible get away with it. Using Google Earth's aerial images, he started looking for where the boat had been docked most recently, eventually finding something that looked like a match. The photo led him to the home of a man named Dwight Foster, who later admitted to dumping the boat. According to officials, it would have cost Foster just $18 to dispose of the boat properly in a landfill. Instead, he faced a $5,000 fine and up to 5 years in prison. In 2008, police in the Swiss canton of Thurgau made a chance discovery while investigating a suspected drug ring. While on Google Earth to look up the address of 2 farmers they believed might be involved in the operation, they got much more than they bargained for when they spotted almost 2 acres of marijuana growing in the middle of a cornfield. From the ground, the operation would have been well concealed, but thanks to the aerial shots from Google Earth, it was immediately obvious that something more was going on. The discovery led to the arrest of 16 people, as well as the seizures of more than a metric ton of cannabis, cash, and valuables worth almost $700,000. In 2009, it was reported that Google Earth had helped nail an Italian businessman for tax evasion. The country's financial authorities first grew suspicious when they found out that the man had allegedly sold a villa on the Italian island of Sardinia for just 280,000 euros in 2002. When they discovered the exact location of the villa in the popular tourist destination of Porto Rotondo, they knew that this was likely not the case, as the surrounding property values were far higher. A search on Google Earth further raised suspicions, revealing a sprawling property right on the shore that would become one of the first pieces of evidence in the case. It turned out that the property wasn't the only thing the man had lied about, as an investigation of the rest of his finances showed he had evaded taxes amounting to 7 million euros. In the summer of 2009, the Soanes family of Derbyshire, England, were the victims of a daylight robbery of their camping trailer. When 47-year-old David Soanes left the house for just 1 hour, thieves made off with his family's white Abbey Aventura, which had been sitting on the driveway. Unfortunately, not much happened in the case until approximately 1 year later, when David's young son Ruben made a lucky discovery while playing with Google Street View at school. As he and his friends were taking turns looking up images of their houses, Ruben noticed that the photo of his home included a suspicious man in his green vehicle on the driveway close to the family's camping trailer. The robbery had obviously occurred just as a Google Earth car was mapping the area. The image was remarkably clear and caught both the face of the unknown man and the license plate of his vehicle. Though the license plate in the image was blurred as part of the standard procedure on Google Earth, the family was eventually able to make an appeal to the internet giant to send the information to the local police. With this evidence, police were finally able to track down a suspect, and an arrest was later made in the case. In 2012, 45-year-old military engineer Santosh Kumari was struck and killed by a stray bullet while at a hotel party. Kumari was celebrating Karva Chauth, an annual festival observed by Hindu women in northern India, and was on the top floor of the hotel when the incident occurred. To solve the crime, local police mapped out the possible trajectory of the bullet using Google Earth and Google Maps, plotting out an area where the shot could have been fired. This, combined with ballistics evidence at the scene, eventually led them to the residence of a 35-year-old man, who admitted that he had recently bought a weapon and tested it on the terrace of his house. The death was ruled an accident, and the man was charged with culpable homicide not amounting to murder and endangering the personal safety of others, as well as a slew of other weapons violations. In 2019, a man named Barry Fay was playing around on Google Earth when he decided to look up his old neighborhood in Wellington, Florida. While searching through the community of Grand Isle, he discovered a strange figure in a large pond located on the housing development. It turned out to be the key to a 22-year-old missing persons case. When police searched the pond, they discovered a submerged car containing the skeletal remains of 40-year-old William Molt, who had disappeared after leaving a nightclub on November 7, 1997. Molt had left the club in Lantana, Florida at approximately 11 p.m., calling his girlfriend on the way home before completely vanishing. Investigators believe that Molt lost control of the vehicle while driving home, and no one noticed because the housing development was still under construction at the time. According to reports, the vehicle was visible on a Google Earth satellite photo as early as 2007, but it took more than another decade for the right person to stumble upon it and take action. In July of 2018, a disturbing video of two women and their children being brutally murdered by a group of unknown soldiers started being shared across the internet. The two women were accused by the soldiers of belonging to the terrorist group Boko Haram, and in the video can be seen being marched to a spot before all of them are blindfolded, forced to the ground, and shot many times at close range. At first, it seemed that there were relatively few clues in the video, aside from several faces and some dialogue between the soldiers. But thanks to some amazing investigative work by journalists at the BBC, the case was solved, in part using Google Earth. The first thing the journalists did was establish a location. Using mountains in the background, they were able to prove that the video was shot in the African nation of Cameroon. By matching the profile of the mountains to the vantage point on the ground, they were further able to conclude that the location was a town called Zelavet, close to the country's border with Nigeria. Comparisons of roads, buildings, and trees were further able to pinpoint the spot. It turned out that discovering the location also yielded vital clues about when the murders had taken place. Comparing details between satellite images from the years of 2013 to 2018 showed that the video must have been shot sometime between 2015 and early 2016. An examination of the footpaths narrowed the time frame even more, their condition revealing that the murders must have occurred in the hot, dry season between January and April. But perhaps most astonishingly was the way the journalists were able to use the shadows that the soldiers cast in the footage as a sort of sundial, restricting the possible date of the crime to just a 2-week window happening at the end of March and the beginning of April in 2015. Using all of this information, they conducted a search of Facebook profiles of soldiers from Cameroon. A total of 7 people were later arrested in connection with the crime, 3 of them as a direct result of the work done by the BBC. That brings us to the end of our list. Do you know of any other times Google Earth helped to solve a crime? Let us know in the comment section below. As always, if you enjoyed our video, don't forget to like and subscribe to Crime Zone for more true crime content like this. making sure to hit the notification bell to stay up to date with our latest videos. Thank you for watching.